Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the L.A.M.E Book Club podcast. My name is Melissa.
I'm Ellie.
And we have a very fun episode with you. We have a very special guest. Hailey and her Kindle will be on this episode. So stay tuned. Stick tuned for the rest of our conversation. But before we get into that, if you don't already follow us, we're at L.A.M E Book Club Pod across all platforms on social media, YouTube. Subscribe there. If you have an iOS device, leave a review on Apple Podcasts. We'd greatly appreciate it. And thank you so much for being here. We also have a website. It's lamebookclubpod.com, where we have merch. We have stickers and totes, perfect for the Burr months. And if you are a Patreon member, you get 15% off. So don't forget to use that discount code.
Yes. And speaking of Patreon, welcome to our new members, Tilly and Jade. I love that name, Tilly. That's so cute.
Tilly's
I also love
so
that name,
cute.
Jade.
I know.
One of my favorite movies, the girl is Jade. What's that movie? Endless
I don't
Love,
know.
the new one. Not
Yes.
the old one.
Okay.
Oh,
and
I love it.
you know what? That movie got so much hate, and I cannot understand why, because there's something about it that just was so
just
good.
Vibes. It's
Yes.
just vibes. Summer vibes. Endless summer, endless love. Ugh.
I forget her name in real life, but the actress, she's actually not really an actress, she's a model, but the girl who plays Jade, I feel like that her stylist killed it in that they
understood the assignment.
Short summer dresses with high top Converse. That was like the peak of that era for me.
Obsessed. She's so cute. And I just
the,
love
like,
the whole
effortless-
soundtrack to that movie. It's perfect.
And the effortlessly
Jeff's kiss.
beautiful, long, like beach wavy blonde hair.
Yeah.
The unattainable standard.
Really
they killed it.
did a number on my self-confidence, my brown hair.
Yes,
self.
they sure did.
Yeah.
They
But I
made
still love
this
it. Still love
little
it.
high school girl who was fake blonde at the time think, I can look like that.
Yeah.
She was like 26.
So here's to you, Tilly and Jade.
Yes.
This tangent goes out to you.
It sure does.
And on our Patreon, we are currently deep diving One Dark Window. We're about to record our third episode today. It's going to be fun. Fourth episode today. It's going to be fun. Who knows where my head's at? I have allergies. I have been stupid ever since I've gotten allergies. They're really doing a number on my brain. Anyways. Without further ado, let's jump into the episode. Okay, so a few weeks ago on the podcast, we talked a little bit about our faith on this platform and how we'd like to extend prayer to anyone listening, and that still stands. So if you have any prayers you need or you want to share, DM us, email us, all the things. But to go even further, Melissa and I wanted to make an episode where we discuss how faith and fantasy can actually tie together in some aspects. It's really cool, I promise. And why we love fantasy, how we balance faith in this subject. And to help us with it, we actually have a guest today. You guys might know her from Bookstagram. Welcome to Hailey, aka Hailey and her Kindle.
Hi.
Hey.
Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank y'all for having me. I'm so excited to talk about all this.
It's going to be so fun. Okay.
Yeah.
So to start off, Hailey, we need to know your credentials. So we're going to rapid fire some questions for you so the audience can get to know you and we can get to know you. It's going to be great. So I have 5 questions. Number 1, what is your favorite romantasy or just fantasy book?
Throne of Glass. The series.
I was like, hold on. The first? Yikes. Okay.
I listen, I love the
possibly
first. Love the
Do you love the
first.
first? Okay.
I do. I love every book.
What's your preferred reading order?
The correct reading order is Throne of Glass first, and Assassin's Blade third.
Okay. I
Love
respect it.
I
What were
did
you
it
saying,
the other
Melissa?
way around. Well, I was just when we first did it, I read Assassin's Blade first, but I see both sides, quite honestly.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed my experience, but I could also totally see why that one it's better to wait to read it third.
I can really ruin it for you. I didn't read Assassin's Blade at all the first time I read it through.
No.
You missed
To
so
be fair,
much.
To be fair, I mean, I was just vibing. It all made sense to me. I was like, in a fantasy
This
book,
makes
you're
sense.
just kind of like going with it. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
these people helped. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that Assassin's Blade existed until I was on Empire of Storms, and I was like, I'm not going back to that. So I just circled
Bold.
back a year later.
That's
We
incredible.
never look back. We stay in the now. What's the Incredibles quote from that? We never look back, darling.
Don't look back, darling. I think that's
Something like that. Okay,
Yeah.
number 2. Who is your favorite morally gray MMC?
Morally gray. I feel like I have to go OG and just say Rhysand because,
Yeah.
I mean, he was probably the first that like captured my heart on that.
Mm-hmm.
Same.
I think
Absolutely
a lot
same.
of people can agree with that. I can agree with that. He was the first that captured my heart.
Us. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Number 3, if you could live in any fantasy world for a year, only 1 year, which one would you choose and why?
That is really hard because I feel
It
like I
is.
would pick a lot of them. But I think the way that Sarah J. Maas wrote and like described Valaris, I would want to be there. I want to go to the City of Starlight.
Yep.
Yeah, it's also the right answer. Okay. Number 4, what was the first fantasy book that made you fall in love with the genre?
A Court of Thorns and Roses.
Okay.
I feel like we have a very similar reading
Yeah, I
journey,
think
and
that-
I'm loving it.
I think we're the same person, actually.
Yeah.
Listen, I like started reading my reading journey back from my early 20s, like in my 30s. I started with Colleen Hoover. Sorry.
Yep.
And then I took a hard left to ACOTAR and never looked back.
Yep.
Yeah. Love it. Okay. And this is our final question. If you could choose any signet power in general, or signet or power in general, what would it be?
That's hard too. What is Garrick's where he can like run really fast and like
distance wielding.
Yes, I want to do that because I cannot
Yeah.
stand traveling.
Same.
Commute
okay.
to work.
Commute.
Yes.
Not even that. Here's a caveat question. How do you feel about flying?
I hate flying.
We are the same person. All 3 of us are the same person. Ellie and I
Flying
both.
makes me so
We
nervous.
found her.
I hate it. I like getting to where I'm going.
Yeah.
But the getting there is the worst thing of my
Love
life.
a vacation. A flight
Yeah.
is the 7th layer of hell to me. I can't.
The airport
Every time I
is
get
where
on, I'm
hell
shaking.
starts. Yeah, the
Yeah.
airport is like where is hell's beginning, and it's anxiety times 1,000. Then getting onto the airplane and having to
Yeah.
sit there and just like turbulence is happening and everyone's just
Yes.
reading their book, and I'm like, oh my
I
How?
know, I cannot.
Or
I
asleep.
can't.
I'm like, you are a psycho. I
Absolutely
don't.
not. You would have to drug me for real.
Literally.
Oh my gosh.
That's
Absolutely.
amazing.
Okay, so love those answers. Personally, Hailey stood out to me on Instagram because she's so fun. She has great content. So if you don't follow her, you absolutely should. But in the midst of like the heaviness a couple weeks ago, she's someone who spoke up so boldly about her faith and really hasn't been shy about it from the beginning. So Hailey, can you speak to why you think it's important to have a voice for Jesus on this corner of the internet?
Well, I think being a Christian is like a huge part of who I am. And even though like my space is dedicated to books, fictional books, I really want parts of me to bleed into that space. And I never want to shy away from who I am and what my morals are. So I think by doing that, you create an environment of people that are like-minded. And it's nice just to have a community that agrees with you. I mean, not trying to live in an echo chamber, but to have like similar minds present. And I think you have people kind of in your corner and you can be in their corner. And I love that. Anytime I've shared anything about Jesus, it's been met with a lot of love. I mean, I've lost followers, but I've gained more, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
It's-
No,
I
yeah,
think it's
totally
just-
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautifully said. I'm going to go into my sort of monologue and then we'll have more discussion about it. But I did read a quote earlier this week that said, "Fantasy is an idea that I cling to in order to avoid facing reality, and faith is an idea that I cling to in order to have the courage to face reality." And I liked that a lot because, like, on one hand, I can absolutely see that and I agree with it. I think a lot of us seek out, like, especially fantasy books, but even just books in general to escape what's going on. And not even books, but like TV, social media, the rest. However, on the other hand, I look at people like C.S. Lewis and how beautifully he blended the two. So like, for example, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, that's like the most common book that people know of his, and how it parallels Christ and how like in our sin, he laid down his life for us because of his love for us and then rose again. And you have that exact parallel character, Aslan, who offered his life in place of Edmund's, who betrayed his siblings. And then Aslan ends up rising again. And so I'd personally argue that like the story emboldens believers to live out their faith through like a fantasy style storytelling. Like it witnesses through fantasy. And I thought that was so neat and a perfect example of how those two can really come together. And I really feel like you just like, you don't read that and then you close the book and you're like, well, that was nice. Goodbye. Like, I think it's just, it's so emboldening. And so I love a parallel of faith and fantasy books because it meets readers where they're at. And I think that's a lot of like what we're trying to do in like our space on the internet too, is just meet people where they're at. And a lot of that's like our commonality is reading. And so exactly what you said, like I love to bleed into our content, who we are and like what we believe. So I like that a lot.
Yeah.
But moreover, I dare say that if you love fantasy and the elements that run deep in fantasy, such as truth and morality and redemption, sacrifice and hope, that you might consider learning about the story of Jesus as well. And that is where I feel like so much overlap happens from faith to this book genre.
I mean, I completely agree because, I mean, if you think about it, the story in the Bible, everything sounds crazy. Like it doesn't sound like anything you'd see nowadays.
Yeah.
And now let's cut to, like we were talking about Valaris, like let's cut to that. Like you're not going to see people flying around. You're not going to see like people use winnowing, or which also, by the way, would love to have that instead of flying as well. Distance wielding or winnowing, either or. But like you're not going to see all that. And I guess to be fair, one of them I believe did happen, whereas the other it's clearly pretend. Yeah. But as far as like the drama and the action and the oh my gosh, what happened, like that, I think if no one's ever actually picked up their Bible and read some of these stories, you'd be shocked at what actually went down. Like it's crazy. It really is.
The Old Testament is wild.
The Old Testament is unbelievable.
It's rated R.
It literally, it's like there's parts that this might sound stupid, but I've laughed out loud, not in like a haha, that's hilarious, I can't believe that happened, but it's like laugh in disbelief. Like, are you kidding
like
me?
Disbelief kind of way. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
So agreed. Like, I think if you find these books intriguing, I have a good recommendation for you.
Yeah. And that's actually a perfect segue, because if you're listening and you're like, all right, well then just give me like the debrief, what actually happened? Why is this similar to fantasy? Let me tell you. Hear me out. You have a creator who made all things good, made mortal men, and gave them free will so that they wouldn't be slaves to him, but rather children and friends and family. And then you have evil who tempted man to become sinful and separate them from good. But then there was hope, like our fantasy books, and the creator made a way for man to be redeemed and saved from evil, but not without great sacrifice, which comes from God's own son who died for his people. But then plot twist, we don't have to be like, he died, R.I.P. The son rises again and lives forever in a paradise where he prepares a home for his people. And then he promises to come back for them, but until then, tasks them with a mission to save as many people as possible by spreading the word of his grace and love. And if that's not like the OG chosen one trope mixed with found family and us as hidden heirs, I don't know. That's just crazy.
Period.
Yeah. There's symbolism, there's a deeper meaning in the original like Hebraic words. If you deep dive, there's prophecy, there's theories. If you love deep dives, you got to get into the Bible. I don't know. It's so good.
Well, and the undertone of the Bible is like good versus evil. And almost every fantasy book is good versus evil.
Exactly.
Hello.
And it just like, it never ends because you're constantly learning, since it's quite literally the living word. And so anyways, I digress. But to get into like the more discussion side of things, we get a lot of questions on like the more practical side of reading modern day fantasies and how we balance our faith in reading. And so I'd like to call this next segment Discipline v. Desire. We've touched on this before in an episode a long time ago, but Hailey, how do you navigate being a Christian and reading books that could contain like smut or spice in them?
Okay, it's hard to be in a space because I think as a Christian you are under a microscope a lot of times, even from other by other Christians. I have people that follow my Bookstagram that go to church with me, and I'm always like, sorry. But I feel like when I pick up a book, I'm not picking it up like, is there spice in this book? I'm not seeking that out. I want it to be very plot driven and plot heavy. And I love romance that is interwoven throughout the story. If I want yearning and tension.
Yeah.
And then when they get together, I'm like, cool, love that for you guys. And I'm more of a skimmer when it comes to spice.
Yeah.
So if a book is like super spice heavy, I tend to not read it. But that it's hard navigating that space because I feel like people, I mean, I know people, I've had people in my comments that are like, yeah, actually, you are not a Christian because you're doing these things. And I'm like, well, I am. But
I know my heart, sweetheart.
Yeah, that works. Yeah.
You know, and it's
that too.
Yeah, and it's really honestly it's tricky too because same thing, like some people that go to my church, like they follow our podcast and everything too, and I don't really talk about books a ton unless I know that they're reading them too. And again, not because it's like I'm ashamed or anything. I don't feel guilt because I know why, like I know my heart behind it. I know why I'm reading these. Same thing. It's like I love the stories. It might contain some stuff that I skim through, but pot, meat, kettle, all these people are going to be like, you're reading that book, and yet they're watching Game of Thrones, or like it's the same thing on TV. You just, it's not any different than what's already out there. And not to say that that means we should just be like, oh, well, like it's just out there, I'm just going to deal with it. But like, we should still be doing what we can to guard our hearts and protect ourselves from it. I think one thing I've noticed as far as like for myself, as far as like setting boundaries or when I recognize like I need to take a step back here is because like you, I love when romance is interwoven. Ellie likes it too, but Ellie is way more of a plot girly. I love romance in a book. The yearning, the tension, exactly like what you said. And I've noticed that like if I'm in too deep in some of these books, or if I'm reading too many of them without like taking a beat, I will blame my husband for things that like he's not doing, or I'll get upset with him for not winnowing me like Rhysand did with Feyre, like, or you know what I mean? Like the just things that like are so unrealistic and that I've built up in my head because these perfect men that were written by women did this, but my flawed, wonderful human husband didn't. Like that's not fair to put those expectations on him.
Right.
And that's like I've noticed over the last couple years, like when I start to feel that way internally, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm getting too deep into these. These are fun. They're great, but I need to take a step back and get back to reality a little bit here because this is not real life.
Yeah.
I have to go touch grass.
Right. Yeah, literally, exactly. I need to touch grass. Like
I think that's dead on. Like if a book is really in any capacity causing you to stumble, I think that's when you have to be like, all right, is this worth like basically, I don't know how to say this in a better word, but like basically like sinning. Is this worth, stumbling and separating myself from Christ more? If you are a Christian. But I also, like, I've talked to people before where they're like, how do you navigate reading smut? And it's like, well, here's the thing. Number one, you can always see it coming, right? Like, they're not just gonna be like, and surprise, this is happening on page. It's always a lead up. And so if that happens for me, I'm more of a page skipper. I'm like, oh, I'll move to off. Rarely ever is there plot given in those pages. And if there is, you can pick. We're smart people.
Yes.
You can pick it up later on. They're going to revisit like, oh, and remember when I did say that? You're like, oh, okay. And then also in most of these books, like exactly what Hailey said, I'm not looking for smut. I'm not going into these books like I need that to be part of it.
Yeah.
And if you really look, like if you're going into a book that might have like a spice scene in it, if you look at the percentage, you have to. I'm an accountant. You have to look at the mathematical data here. It's like 5 pages in a 600-page book, that is less than 1%.
Yeah.
You're going to skip a 600-page book for less than 1%. It's the same as if a movie had, you know, a sex scene in it. You can fast forward a bit and you still get the entirety of the beautiful plot. And so that's kind of how I see it. But I do think, like, know yourself and talk to God about it. And if it's something that causes you to stumble, step back. You don't need to read it. You will be just fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It really is a hard issue, though. Like,
it is,
exactly like you said, like, it's gonna be different for every single person. I remember talking to someone, and I think, and again, this was like, I had to check myself after this conversation, because I was the only problem in this. It was not what this person said, but I do remember talking with someone. They're like, oh yeah, I can't read ACOTAR because it's really inappropriate. And I got really defensive. She didn't say anything about me reading it, about whatever, but the way she said it made me feel defensive because I had read it and I love it. Not even guilty, just like defensive, I think, because I mean, maybe I guess a little bit guilty, but I was like, oh, interesting, because I didn't feel that way, you know? Like, she was talking about book one. Like,
I don't even remember there being like a lot of spice in there.
No, like, but then I was like, oh, okay, like, someone's feeling holier than thou, kind of like, and that's kind of the vibe that I got. But then I realized I was the only one in that conversation putting that expectation on. It wasn't, and exactly, Ellie, like you said, like, every single person's gonna be different. Maybe that is too much for some people, and that's fine. I feel bad that you're missing out on a story, but it's not worth it. Like, it really isn't in the end, at the end of the day. But I've had to check myself sometimes too for that reason, because something is going to bother one person doesn't mean it's going to bother someone else.
Yeah, for sure.
Everyone's convictions are definitely different.
Yeah.
One of my favorite series that's not fantasy, it's a sports romance series, and it has some like chapters. So when I've done my reviews, I felt like, oh gosh, I can't talk about this one, but I love it so much. I love the author so much. It's the Windy City series, if you've never read it. But when I did a review, I put every chapter that had spice in it, so people knew that they could take a closed door approach. So I felt like I do have a duty, like, holding the space that I have and identifying myself as a Christian, like, to lead people in the same way. Like, hey, I'm not going to lead you blindly into this like smutty book, because I mean, I guess you could probably classify it to being pretty smutty, but it was still plot driven in a sports romance, if that makes sense. So I felt like I had a duty to be like, I love Jesus, here you go, here's the chapters if you want to just stay behind the door.
Yeah. And we've done that a couple times too with like specifically Fourth Wing. I think we did it for ACOTAR, maybe ACMAF. But
I think we just did it for those two. We need to be better about doing those a little bit more consistently. But yeah, we've posted like pictures of like more of like a carousel post, essentially saying, if you want to skip the smut, here are the chapters and here's what happened in them. Like, just here's what you potentially might miss if you don't read them, which is That's very smart. Little, because it's you're not missing anything really other than some spice.
And some little dialogue.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Well, okay. So next question. How do you personally discern what kind of fantasy content is spiritually healthy to read or even watch, and what might be harmful?
So I really try to listen to the Holy Spirit. I get convicted. That's a point blank. That's what it is. Yeah. And I've stopped reading several books. Actually, I have a little thing on my Instagram right now that's TBR Trick or Treat. So I'm reading more thriller, spooky books right now. Could be fantasy or not. And there was a book that I was really excited to read because it was framed as a historical nonfiction that was set Salem witch trials. And I've read Throne of Glass. It has witches in it. So that to me doesn't make me feel like, oh, I can't read that. I was just like, okay, I love history. I love stuff like this. And I love One Dark Window. It said it was kind of similar. And as soon as I started this book, they had like this picture above like chapter 1, and I can only call it demonic. It made me feel horrible. And I read 14 pages and I was like, I cannot do this. And I'm glad I didn't because it was demonic. It's called Slewfoot, and I Googled what Slewfoot meant, and it means the devil. So, whoops, I had to kind of come back to my Bookstagram and be like, sorry, guys, don't read that book.
You know what's funny? I actually saw the reel where you were like, I DNF'd this, and here's why. Like, I saw, it's funny that you're talking about it now because that like just even came up on my For You page. Like, I saw that. I know exactly what you're talking about. When you said Slewfoot, I'm like, oh yes, like, I saw that.
So many comments. So people are like, yeah, I saw you, talk about that. So I went and looked at it and I immediately was like, oh, Hailey's reading this. And I was like, sorry, y'all. I do not read reviews. I don't read
We don't either.
Really. I try to stay away because I want to have a very organic thought and opinion. So I went in very blind just based off of some things that were told to me, and they were deceiving. So
the amount of books I've had. I am like, I need to stop actually. Like, I am with you both that I don't like to read the back of books. I don't like to read reviews. I want to go in blind and enjoy a story just like that. But the amount of money I have spent on books I would never buy if I knew what they were about is outrageous. It's asinine. And I will tell Melissa, I'm like, another flop. I've DNF'd after page 10 because this is against everything. I'm not going to read this. Yeah. And she's like, you got to stop. Like, I don't know how.
You sound like my husband.
Maybe I need to return them.
It's like my husband was like, I told him about this book and he was like, Hailey, you really need to have better discernment before you pick up a book. And I was like, rude. I know. Just trying to vibe.
Yeah. Oh
don't tell me what to do.
I know.
Melissa, do you have any thoughts on this one? You want me to move to the next question?
No, I really think it's the same thing. Honestly, it's something that I've personally, if I'm just going to really like be open and honest with everyone on the internet, I've worked on over the last year because there's been quite a handful of books that I've read and felt icky about, but I kept reading because I started it and I'm like, well, I just want to know like how it ended. And nary once was I glad that I finished it. Like, not one. I know I didn't use it. It's kind of a joke. I don't use that word correctly ever. No, but like I've never been like, I'm so glad I finished this book and powered through. Like, it's never been worth it.
It's like a fleshly battle. Like,
it really is. And
especially when it's like a popular book.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so, I've definitely felt more convicted, I think, in the last year to just stop, like, and not continue. And I've actually done that. I feel like I'm going to say this as a joke because obviously we're talking about faith. A year ago, I would say it goes against my religion to DNF a book. I just felt very strongly about like not stopping. But now I've gotten much more comfortable with it. If I ever at any point kind of feel like this is not headed in a direction that I'm comfortable with. So that's something that I've personally just even been working on. So if anyone out there is feeling the same way, just know that it's hard. Like, I know it's hard. And I can say like truly though, like it has been so worth it because I went through a season where I just finished it. And like I said, I was never like, yeah, it got bad in the middle, but at least it ended on a happy, great note. Like I've never been like, I'm so glad I finished that. And not seriously, like not one time. And so now I'm like, I just feel so much freer when I'm like, you know what, now I can actually read a book that I want to read. Like, and that is good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Well, okay, next question. Do you ever feel like it's hard to pick up the Bible on a daily basis when you're literally on the edge of your seat in another book? Like, you're like, but I just want to read that one instead. And how do you balance that?
I would be a liar if I didn't say yes. There's some days where I'm like, I really just want to read about dragons. And,
yes. Revelation.
But I really try. Yes. So I started working. Just turn to Revelation and you'll find a dragon or something. I'm pretty sure there's something that comes out of the sea at some point. I don't.
Yes.
So I started working out at like 5 a.m. And it's kind of helped me because I have 2 kids that are 5 and under, and it's helped me navigate like Bible time. So when I come home, they're still asleep. I can get my coffee and I sit down and I can read the Bible, and I'll do like a Bible study or something. So that helps me, so that at night when my kids are asleep, it's like fun. I get to read, like, not saying the Bible's not fun, but like I get to read about dragons.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. I literally can't relate more to that too. And I've felt guilty. I think I've had to reframe how I think about it. I'm still not great with making time for honestly either at this point, but it has more to do with the fact that I'm due in a month and I'm just exhausted constantly.
Yeah.
And that's not an excuse, but it is. Anyways, I've had to reframe how I view both of them, because for a long time I would be exactly like what Ellie said, like I just want to read something fun, and not that the Bible isn't fun, and we're just in the beginning of this talked about how crazy and everything it is. It's just a different level. It's obviously different, and I've been like I felt like I had to force myself to do one, and then I'd be like, okay, I'm done with that. Now I get to do what I really want to do. And when I thought about it in that way, it made it so much harder to make time for the more important read.
Yeah.
And so I've had to, and I'm still working on it too, like shifting the way I think about which the times that I get to have, and I've definitely gotten better.
Yeah.
I wish I could, if someone's sitting there being like, well, what did you do? Because I'm struggling with that too. I wish I could give you like, oh, I did this, and then I did this, and then everything worked out. Like there isn't really like one step that I did. I really just prayed a lot about it. And I was just like, Lord, like, help me to remember what's important. Like, help me to remember like which one is gonna actually help me grow as a person and which one helps me relax. Like it's not that serious. I'm making it a way bigger deal than it needs to be. These books will always be there. And I think I had this like idea that I had to finish a book in like a certain amount of time and all that stuff. And that was kind of putting pressure on me too, for one way or the other. And so I think once I guess maybe letting go of that helped a little bit, but it was just kind of like a heart posture and like changing the way that I thought about it, which wasn't easy, and it took a while, and I'm still working on it. There are days where I'm like, nope, row to bones it is. Like,
I think
you know,
what can be so tricky about that is I don't know about you, Hailey, but like I know for Melissa and I, like we grew up as Christians, our family was Christian, so like we grew up in the faith, and so you know you've grown up reading the Bible your whole life, and it's like if you even ACOTAR, like I can't read that every single day and be like, this is riveting, you know. At some point you're just like, okay, but the thing about the Bible that's so cool is that what I said earlier, it's literally a living word. It's constantly like the meaning of things will change to you because God will speak to you in it in a different way pertaining to whatever season you're in. And so that's so cool. And one thing that's helped me recognize, like, it is a discipline. It's not always going to be like, this is just so fun, I'm so excited. It is a discipline. It's going to be that, but it betters your life in every way. But 2 things actually that really help me is, one, having community to where you can do Bible studies, to where you can talk to other people. The more you talk about it, the more excited you get to learn more and read more about it, you know. But 2, exactly what we do with our book podcast, we deep dive, right? And so I actually saw something recently. It was an Instagram reel where this girl was talking about how, I think it's Micah, in the book of Micah, God is defined as a refiner of silver. And so like they didn't really know what that meant. They're like, whatever that means, silver. But one girl was like, I'm actually going to look into the process of silver. So that like, that week she went and watched a silversmith work on refining silver. And she asked, you know, how do you get this chunk of metal to become this like beautiful piece of silver? He goes, you hold it over the hottest part of the flame for like a decent amount of time to flush out the impurities. And so in that sense, if we're the silver, you know, God's holding us over the flame. And she's like, can you just leave it and walk away? He was like, no, you have to watch it at all times. So then in that sense, like God being the refiner, you know that he's always watching. The coolest part literally brings me to tears. She goes, how do you know when the silver is done? He was like, that's easy. I can see my reflection in it. I can see my image in it. And I was
That's
like,
cool.
"Ugh."
I just got
And
chills.
that's what happens when you deep
I
dive.
know.
Yeah. And it's so cool. So it's constantly like, you can read it at face value, but when you really look into it, there's so much symbolism and so much meaning. So
Yeah.
I think it's so neat.
And I used to really be bored about the Old Testament. Like I would have a really hard time to go into that and just be like, yes, I'm retaining all of this and understanding everything. And my husband kind of framed it to me. He was like, I feel like he's so much more disciplined than me and so studious. It's annoying, honestly. Love him so much.
Me too.
But I'm so thankful for
Same.
him because he can really bring things forward and point stuff out. And he was one of the first ones because I was kind of complaining about reading the Old Testament. And this was a few years ago. And he was like, Hailey, everything points to Jesus, like every single thing. And I was like, okay. So then I really kind of framed my mind when I was reading it. I'm like, well, let me deep dive into this specific verse and see how this pertains to Jesus. I've learned so much just deep diving and seeing the parallels between things. And it really is a living word. Like what I read in my 20s, and I could read the same exact thing now in my late 30s. And I'm like, this is hits so much harder. When you walk through life and you have lived longer with walking with Jesus and seeing the places in your life where he was there with you. Like, I mean, he's been solid for me for the past 5 years. I think 6 years is when I kind of really got more serious about my relationship with God.
I love that.
That's awesome. I love that.
Okay, next one, if I can find my place. Yes, I can. How do you include faith in your social media presence? I think we kind of talked about it. You said you want to bleed over who you are into your content. And we do too. But I know you said you saw like a loss in followers. Have you seen any like big repercussions from pouring out your faith into your social media?
So the first time I kind of really shared about Jesus, I actually remember I was going to make a reel about it. And I told my husband, I was like, I may lose followers here, but I really don't care. And I shared it and it went viral. And I was like, what the heck? Super excited about that. And I was like, look at you go, God. And then a few weeks ago when Charlie Kirk died, I shared in my stories that I was heartbroken over just the state of our world with the woman that got stabbed and then Charlie. And it was just the things we were seeing on social media. I want my heart to stay soft. I want to mourn for what God is mourning over for the state of his world. And what breaks his heart, I want it to break mine, as most of us do that are Christians. And I was heartbroken in that process. Whether I believed with anything and everything he said, he was a brother in Christ, and I felt the sadness from that. So all I did was share in my stories that I was praying for him, heartbroken for his wife and children, and I lost hundreds of followers within hours. I got a few messages from people that were trying to correct me, that, they came with the same song and dance that you've all seen where the twisted narrative that they gave. And I just kind of doubled down, and then I kept doubling down because I was really upset by the fact that I ever gave the impression that I was okay with murder in my space.
Right.
And that's what stuck to me. I was like, no, you're going to know who I am and what I'm about. And I'm not going to be shy about that. And in fact, now I'm going to be obnoxious with it. So that was, I really didn't care about the repercussions at that point.
I think that was a really big turning point for like a lot of people. And what I thought was so neat is that, that week, that was the week that we were like, this is a heavy week. I'm not going to lie. We didn't address it as like, directly, but we were like, it's a heavy week. If you need prayer, we're here, and people reached out and they're like, I was not expecting in the Bookstagram side of things to see Christians speak up. They're like, that's incredible. I'm literally seeing it in every corner right now. And I was like, then this is what we need to do. Then we need to do more of this. Like we need to bring this to every corner all the time.
Yeah. I think a lot of us felt like we were in the minority, but we're not.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And I saw something too, because I was, and you touched on this a little bit, Hailey, but what broke my heart about the situation with, and I want to keep talking about it because it's I mean, it's sad, but it is like, it was how political it got when it wasn't a political issue. Like And like, I think that's why a lot of people got upset, like us even addressing it. I wasn't addressing it. We weren't addressing it from a political standpoint.
Right.
I truthfully, like, and I don't really follow politics on either side. Just in general,
Yeah.
I hardly knew anything about what he stood for politically. I knew he was conservative, and I knew that he would argue with people at college campuses. And that was essentially the extent of personally, like, what I knew about him. But I was so upset because of it's murder. Exactly like you said. Someone got shot, and it was within 30 seconds on social media, and for the world to watch. I saw it on accident because I was casually scrolling social media. I didn't want to watch that. Like, that was, and I think that's why I felt so upset by it, because I've never seen anyone be assassinated before, and I wasn't even there, and I still saw it. Like,
in 4K.
It literally, I'm like, this is in multiple angles. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, this is, and I felt so heartbroken for his kids that this is on the internet. One day they'll maybe on accident, maybe on purpose, someone is going to show them their dad dying. Like, and that is what hurt us, like Ellie and I, the most. It's not a political issue. And I think that's why people got scared or got upset when a lot of people were talking about it. But I also just also want to be very clear too. Like, when we were talking about it, we were talking about what happened, not anything like on top of that. But I saw this, I wish I remembered the prompt more, but it was essentially something along the lines of like, turn what happened to Charlie Kirk into the Screw Tape Letters or something. Like, make it as if C.S. Lewis wrote this. And it was damning. Because if you guys haven't read the Screw Tape Letters by C.S. Lewis, it's a really short read. Highly recommend. It's really fascinating. You're not going to, I mean, it's definitely more so if you have a faith, but I would seriously recommend it regardless, because it's interesting, the parallels like in our world today, if you were to read it, to see like a lot of what was going on. But my favorite part about it is it does not leave Christians exempt. Like, it's not saying, oh, you're wrong if you don't believe, and if you're a believer, you're perfect. Like, that's absolutely not the message behind it. And really what came up with was essentially like, good. Let's get them focused on the political aspect. Like, as long as they can forget what really happened, as long as they can forget that this man was a believer and that he spoke for the word, if we can get them to focus on the inconsequential, minor things and argue about those, they're going to forget the big picture. And that was like the gist of what this said. And I was like, wow, that's exactly what happened. Like, for the weeks after, people were just arguing about whether he was a good guy or not. And I'm like, that's not the point. The point is that someone would died, and that's never okay. Like, regardless of anything, like, that's someone played God and took his life. Like, that's not, I don't know. But
And for you kind of explained it, but if anyone is interested in the Screw Tape Letters, what it essentially is it's from the POV of like a demon, and he's writing to another demon who's assigned to somebody who's kind of on the line of becoming a Christian, like a strong believer, or turning away from God. And so they're trying to influence him and how they would do it, what their tactics are. And you see like how that's working in the world, how people are being influenced by these tactics of evil. So it's really fascinating. It's really interesting. Okay, well, last question. Well, actually, second to last. Are there any areas where you'd caution fantasy readers? So, like, we kind of touched on this, but like diving in too deep to a book and basically losing yourself to the point where it's like you need to touch grass. Like, you're going a little too far into the weeds. For me, it's like if it's emotionally affecting you, or if it's causing you to stumble, that's where I'd be like, let's take a pause. Yeah, let's reground, and then let's come back to it. Let's revisit. What do you guys think? Are there any areas where you'd caution fantasy readers?
Yeah, I think if there's a book that's making you feel like a weight, like a heaviness every time you pick it up and you're reading it, and it's not like a weight, like I feel like a lot of Christians know the difference. Like The Nightingale, that's a weighty book that it destroyed me. But the weight, like where something is demonic and you feel like a disturbance in your spirit. Just listen to that. That is the Holy Spirit. That is conviction trying to nudge you like, hey, this is not okay. This is going to mess with you. And I think just being obedient to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, and I guess essentially what I said earlier. Like if you feel like your real life is being affected by what you're reading, that's probably a good indication that maybe even just take a break. I'm not even saying like, I'm not in not even like what Hailey was saying where the book is like heavy. If it's just, if it's influencing you too much, just maybe take a step back, take a few days off from reading, try picking up something else that's lighter or something. Just see if that helps. Like that, even just that, like, I don't even necessarily think it needs to be anything crazy, but one thing that I love, and I think that the Bible shows us, is that like the Lord always speaks in parables when he's teaching. And a lot of these parables don't necessarily, like on surface level, they don't seem to make sense. But like, if you really think about it, they do. But all that to say, he spoke to people in stories. And I personally think like, God's not sitting up in heaven wanting us to live boring lives. Like he wants us to have fun. He wants us to enjoy life as long as everything is pointing back to him. Like that's ultimately like all that matters. And so like, I don't think there's anything wrong with using discernment in reading these books personally. And if you feel differently, great, that's fine. Listen to your own convictions. But like, as long as your heart is in the right place, I personally don't think there's anything wrong with this. So like, I don't want anyone to come out from this episode and because like we all read these books. Clearly we have platforms where we talk about them. We love these books. And I ultimately, like, I kind of hope that's what people take away from this. Like, I don't want anyone to feel like we're condemning anyone who does read or trying to say, hey, don't read these because they're bad for you and you're not a real Christian. Like that's the opposite of what anyone's trying to say here. Like, I think they can be fun as long as we are using discernment. That's it.
Yeah. Yep. I think check your hearts. That's kind of the moral of the story. Hailey, I saw you started a virtual Bible study called Kindled. What inspired that? How's it going? Tell me more.
It's going very well. We're on our first week. We are doing the book Philippians. And we just are doing like a chapter a week because there's 4 chapters. So I expected like 20 people to join and there's 200 something.
Whoa,
so
that's awesome.
And I really, when I said I doubled down, I was like, no, I'm going to double down. And I was like, I don't know what this looks like, but I'm going to just figure it out along the way and hope that people trust me enough to let me experiment with it, I guess. So we're just doing that, and it's going very well. It's so beautiful to get into a group of believers that are really, really seeking the Lord and seeking just diving deeper and what they get out of it. And it's something, we're all reading the same exact thing. And I mean, there's just like 20 different messages of people like, oh, well, this verse stuck out to me and here's what I got from this. And it's so beautiful because then it opens your eyes even more to a different perspective that you weren't even looking for. And it's just like so beautiful how it's all coming together, and the community is really encouraging. It's I think all women, a lot of moms. And so I'm excited about it. I'm hoping that it can prevail.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, there's going to be 202 members after this.
Yeah. Come on in.
I love that. That's so cool. Okay. Well, to kind of close, I feel like so often, even on this platform, of course, we say things like, oh, I wish I lived there, or like, I wish that would happen to me, in regards to like the fantasy plots we read, just how like incredible they are and what an adventure. And I think the takeaway here, if nothing else, is that if you want so deeply for something resembling the fantasy books that you read to be real in your own life, there is something. And like even in Ecclesiastes, the Bible says he has put eternity into man's heart. So if you feel like there's something missing, there's that nudge, it is the push. It's the push from God. Like it is the call, And so if you have no idea where to start, you just want to know more about Christianity, faith, if you have questions, absolutely reach out to us. We are available all the time on DMs. There's like no judgment. We're not going to be weird about it. We're not going to be like, you fully it's not going to be weird. But we'd love to talk to you. So you can DM us or email us. Our email is lamebcpodcast@gmail.com. And I'm just going to speak for Hailey. I'm sure you can email her or not text, DM her too. And she'd love to talk to you as well. So yeah, I think
do not disturb.
Yeah. Don't text us. Just kidding.
Don't text.
But yeah, that's kind of all I've got. You guys have anything else you want to add?
No.
Thank
Thank you guys for being here. Yeah, thank you so much,
Yeah.
Haley, for your time and for your wisdom. This was really, I hope you guys enjoyed listening to it. It was really fun for me talking about it.
It's
for sure.
really fun when two things I love kind of marry.
Yes.
Yeah, and they absolutely
Totally.
do. And I think that's the point of it. It's just so good. So without further ado, catch you all on the flip flop. If you're part of our Patreon, we do have a small after party. We're going to be talking a little bit more about not so much faith and fantasy, but more just like the Chronicles of Narnia and my personal stories about it and how weird things have been in my life around it. So until Monday, see you guys later.
Bye.